Outside the Red Box, insights into global research equipment distribution. Welcome to the Outside the Red Box podcast, your go-to podcast for insights on growing and scaling life science brands globally. Brought to you by Redbox Direct, we specialize in outsourced sales, distribution, and manufacturing for scientific instruments, with over 20 years of hands-on experience. Let's get started with today's episode.
Years ago, I was walking through Hong Kong, and I remember stopping outside this traditional seafood restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the window was just full of these massive, colorful aquariums. And bam, it just took me straight back to being a kid fishing for brown trout on this quiet stream in County Wicklow, Ireland.
Wow, quite the contrast.
Right. But it was the same feeling, the hours of patient setup, the quiet watching, and then suddenly the line twitches. And
Yeah,
you need all this coordination instantly to reel it in. Don't lose the fish.
That's a brilliant memory. And honestly, it sounds incredibly familiar to anyone who's ever run a trade show booth trying to get the best return. That mix of strategy, patience, and then sudden, focused action.
Exactly.
Yeah, the insights we're digging into today, they come from some source material shared by Rory Gagan, and he draws this really clear parallel between a successful fishing trip and a well-run trade show, especially for these, specialized science products.
It feels very timely, too. I mean, lots of people are probably dusting off their pop-up booths right now, getting back into the swing of in-person events after,
For sure. And trade shows are a huge deal, a massive investment. We're talking serious money, tens of thousands sometimes, plus all those staff hours.
Right. So our mission today is basically to pull out the 6 key strategic nuggets from this fishing analogy. The things that make sure you're not just showing up, but actually catching those high-quality leads.
Yeah, we're going beyond just the basic checklist here. This is about strategy, finding that edge. And just like fishing, the very first thing has got to be deciding where you're even going to cast your line.
Okay, let's unpack this then, starting with point 1, location. Where should I fish? The sources warn about becoming that board angler, the type. Goes back to the same spot month after month, just out of habit.
And that habit, it's a huge risk, strategically and financially. Companies just assume, we've gone to this show for 10 years, our customers must still be there.
But that's a dangerous assumption, right?
Especially
In science.
Exactly. Because the world of research changes so fast, customer feeding spots, as the analogy goes, they move.
Because new techniques pop up, new research areas become hot.
Precisely. So you need to ask some key questions every single year. First, are our ideal customers, the PIs, the lab managers, are they maybe going to other shows now? Maybe new meetings focused on emerging tech?
And the second question is internal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Has our product line changed?
Yeah. Science evolves, instruments get updated, new applications are found. So does that mean we need to look beyond the big familiar conferences, find new venues that actually fit what we offer now? It's about adapting, not just repeating.
Okay, adapting. That makes sense.
Which leads us nicely into point 2, your gear. What equipment and bait do you need? We're talking the booth itself, the literature, the demos, your whole tackle box, basically.
Well, I know that feeling. The excitement when you first get the perfect booth backdrop, the shiny new monitors, those slick brochure holders. Feels like you've got the best kit.
Right. Like buying the top of the line fishing rod and reel.
But then what happens a few years down the line?
Yeah, complacency. You start bringing the same slightly worn out kit because it's easier. But think about it. The lure that worked for trout in spring might be totally ignored by pike in autumn.
Good point.
And in a technical field like science, old, scratched, maybe slightly malfunctioning equipment, it doesn't just look unprofessional. It kind of suggests your company might be falling behind technologically.
Yeah, if that shiny spinner lure is looking dull and chipped, you can't really blame the fish. The potential customer for swimming right past. And I think that's especially true for things like posters and brochures.
Definitely. Old application notes, dusty flyers, it just screams outdated.
So what's the practical fix here?
It's actually pretty straightforward. The sources really emphasize doing a pre-show rehearsal. Properly set up the entire booth in the office before you ship it out.
Okay, a dry run.
Exactly. It's not just about checking if the monitors turn on. It forces the team to actually look at everything, the posters, the literature, the overall look, and ask, is this right for this show, for these products, for this audience?
A dry run to prevent wet losses, you could say. It forces that critical check. Okay, so that covers planning and prep. Let's move into the actual execution. Segment 2. Positioning and working the pitch. Starting with point 3, selecting your spot.
Right. Now, a fisherman often picks their spot on the day, right? Reads the water, sees where the fish might be. We, as exhibitors, have to do this months in advance. And the stakes are, frankly, way higher.
Because the cost is just so significant. The booking fee alone, then shipping, flights, hotels.
Astronomical. So getting the right position on that floor plan is maybe the single most critical decision you make.
Okay, so what's the fisherman's priority? Be where the fish are, where the traffic is.
Exactly. So you look for those natural pathways. Between the main entrance and the coffee stand, maybe, or near the main lecture halls, and definitely, for science shows, near the poster sessions.
Ah, yes. Especially poster sessions related to your specific technology or application area. That's prime real estate.
Gold dust. Because those people are already thinking about the exact problems your product solves. But here's where it gets really interesting. Especially for those huge shows where they pressure you to book super early.
Right, they want the commitment. But you often end up stuck in a corner anyway if you're not a massive company.
Precisely. So conventional wisdom says book early. But what if you don't?
Wait, you're suggesting booking late. Isn't that super risky? Playing chicken with the organizers?
It's a calculated risk. Look, the organizers want guaranteed income early, but they almost always have spaces left over from cancellations or just unbooked spots, especially if you look at last year's floor plan.
Ah, so you use historical data.
Yes. You wait until you can see the current floor plan, identify the empty, desirable spots, then you book late, but you make it conditional.
Conditional.
Yeah. You say, we'll book if we get space X near the coffee or space Y by the poster hall. You negotiate based on the actual available inventory. Use their unsold space as your leverage. If they say no, you have to be prepared to walk away. It takes guts, but it's seriously strategic.
That is, wow, next level thinking. Okay, so let's say you've used that ninja move, secured the prime spot. Now, point 4, setting up and actually working the booth.
Right. Think about that experienced angler. Their spot is neat, organized, everything's within easy reach, ready for action.
But exhibitors, sometimes they're exhausted from travel. They just want to chuck this stuff up and get to the hotel bar.
Big mistake. That rushed setup undermines everything. Taking an extra 30 minutes, maybe an hour, to really organize the layout, make sure it looks sharp, everything's accessible, that directly impacts how many people you engage. You need to grab that brochure instantly, not fumble around.
And it needs looking after throughout the show, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Fight that familiarity breeds contempt thing. Day 2, day 3. Booths can get messy. Coffee cups, stray boxes, crumpled leaflets. You need to step back regularly, maybe every couple of hours, and see it through a customer's eyes. Does it look tidy, inviting, professional?
And what about the people in the booth? The team.
Crucial point. I've seen it so many times. Staff sitting down, maybe backs to the aisle, glued to their laptop answering emails.
Yeah, it's like they're too busy to be disturbed.
Exactly. It's the total opposite of that vigilant fisherman watching the water. You have to be on. Standing, facing the traffic flow, alert, making eye contact, ready to engage the second someone shows even a flicker of interest. Remember, a lot of scientists can be quite reserved. They won't interrupt if you look busy or bored.
Be the vigilant fisherman waiting for that nibble.
Yeah.
Okay, that vigilance is what turns effort into results. Which brings us perfectly to segment 3, the catch and the debrief. Point 5 is about storing my catch, lead management.
Leads are like live fish, right? You can't just toss them in a bucket and hope for the best. Meaning, if you just scribble down names and emails in a notebook or dump them into a CRM with no context, they go cold, fast. 2 weeks later, the sales team tries to follow up, and the lead is dead. They can't remember the conversation. The catch is spoiled.
So how do you keep them fresh? What's the process?
Standardization is key. No more letting everyone use their own random system. The whole booth team needs to use the same required form, physical or digital. Doesn't matter.
And that form needs more than just name and email, I assume.
Yes.
Especially for technical sales.
Way more. There are 5 absolutely critical fields. First, the specific product they were interested in, down to the model number or variant, if possible.
Okay.
Second, what are they actually doing? What's their application, their research goal? This lets you tailor the follow-up. Third, who took the lead? The salesperson's name for context and accountability.
Right, makes sense. What are the last 2? You said 5.
Yeah, the last 2 are a bit more subjective, but vital for prioritizing. You need a note on the lead's seriousness. Were they genuinely engaged, asking technical questions, or just grabbing free pens?
Okay, quality check.
And finally, urgency. Do they need this thing next month for a grant deadline, or are they just gathering info for next year's budget? That context is absolute gold for the sales team. It tells them who to call first.
That level of detail really transforms a lead from just a name into an actual qualified prospect. Which leads us to the final point. Point 6, learning lessons for next time. The show debrief.
This is so often rushed or skipped. Everyone's exhausted after the show. They just want to go home. But if you don't properly analyze what happened, you're doomed to repeat any mistakes next time.
So a formal debrief is essential. What should it cover?
It needs to result in a clear document answering 4 key strategic questions, and not just, was the coffee okay?
Right. Real analysis.
Exactly. First 2 are quantitative. How many leads did we actually get? And, using our detailed new form, what was their quality, seriousness, and urgency? Second, how many potential customers actually attended the show overall? Did it meet expectations?
Okay, those are the hard numbers. What about the bigger picture stuff?
That's questions 3 and 4. Third, based on the lead quality and attendance, is this show still fundamentally the right place for us and our current products? Be honest.
Tough question sometimes.
It can be. And fourth, if we do decide to go again, what specific things could we change to do better? Booth location, staffing levels, pre-show promotion, follow-up process. This documented analysis, like a fisherman's logbook, dictates your strategy and budget for the next trip.
It really does bring that fishing analogy full circle, doesn't it? Trade shows are challenging, yeah, sometimes frustrating, but they're a continuous improvement cycle if you track the data.
Absolutely. And there's one last little thing, often forgotten in all the strategy talk. Enjoyment.
It's enjoyment. At a trade show?
Well, yeah. If you can approach it with a bit of curiosity, that vigilance we talked about, maybe even find some fun in the challenge, the work feels different, more enriching. And honestly, you're probably more likely to succeed, become that master angler.
That's a nice thought. Okay, so we've covered the planning, the strategic position games, the execution on the floor, the crucial follow-up. But I want to leave our listeners with one last thing to chew on.
Okay.
That debrief data, you've spent a fortune getting it. You asked question 3, is this show still right for us? What if the honest, data-driven answer is no? What if the smartest move, despite years of attending, is to decide not to go back to that fishing spot next year?
Ooh, that takes courage. But using data to walk away from tradition, that's the mark of a truly adaptive winning strategy, not just following the crowd.
So we'd encourage you listening, dig out your last few show debriefs. Did you really use that data to make hard choices? Or did you slip back into being that comfortable, maybe slightly bored angler returning to the same old spot? Go check those notes. Maybe it's time for a change of scenery.
Thanks for tuning in with us. For more insights or to connect with our team, visit redboxdirect.com. Until next time, keep scaling smart.